All right. Well, welcome everyone to a Wine Affair podcast and our first official episode. Woohoo! Thank you for joining us. We are going to welcome our first official guests to the Wine Affair podcast, the ladies of Ology Vines. Welcome, ladies.
Cheers.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
For having us.
I couldn't not have you as the first guest because you have been such a supportive force behind everything I've done for the last little bit. And I thought it would be very fitting for you guys to be the first guest. So before we dive into anything, I just want to check out what's in everyone's glass. And I think that's going to be a tradition. So I will start it off. I am drinking a French. This is a Bordeaux 2019. And as you guys know, I love my French. So I thought it would be appropriate for today. And Andy, what's in your glass?
Yes, I have to have bubbles at the end of the workday. It's a tradition that I learned at one of my first jobs, and I've continued it through. So this is a Saint Hilaire. It's not actually a true champagne, but it is one of the oldest sparklings. And it's one of my favorite stories. If you ever see this golden purple label, I'll post some pictures to it if you follow me on Instagram. But it's a nice, crisp, clean. It's from the monks have created it hundreds of years ago. And I just felt like, have a little fancy glass and do a little fancy toast to y'all. So cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And Teresa, what's in your glass?
I'm drinking an old vine Malbec,
Nice.
Argentina, from Mendoza, Argentina. And it's just hitting the spot. It's nice and jammy, a little bit jammy. Nice. This has smooth tannins. And it's just hitting the spot.
Yum.
Sounds delicious. Lily, what's in your glass?
I am drinking a Montepulciano di Abruzzo. It's from the Villa Ambrosia.
Yum.
And it is a 20 young, but it's beautiful. It's got the perfect balance of perfect tannins. It's slightly gritty, but smooth, and it has just a lot of fruits, and you can almost taste the terroir too in there. It's nice. And it takes me back to Rome.
Oh, yeah.
It's like vacation in a glass.
Yes. I go back. I'm still obsessed.
I love that. Well, I know you all have like quite the history of how you've come together. And I always love kind of hearing the story as a newbie meeting you all in the last couple of years. But Cindy, I don't know if you want to give a little bit more of a background on how you all first met. And then I'd love to hear more about how the Ology ladies connected.
Sure. Yeah, we originally connected on Instagram. I was doing sort of a series of Instagram lives, I guess about 2 years ago now, and just sort of bringing in people from the wine community and talking about different wines and kind of trying to expose people to some varietals they hadn't maybe been as familiar with, and trying also to bring out the ladies of the wine business, because I love that part of the business, and it's become so innovative and such great ladies are running things now, and I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit as well. So that was really fun, and I started noticing in the comments that these two lovely ladies were cheering us on and supporting us and asking us great questions, and soon discovered who they were, and went to their site and got in touch with them. And then fast forward a little bit, I started a very small tasting group a bit ago last year and invited them to join. And it's still going on. We're a small but mighty little group. And there's just sort of this magic chemistry that we've all felt. It's just us and my very dear friend Brandon, and now you, Andy, and your fiance. And it's just been a very sweet, magical, and a lot of information experience for me. And it's just been such an organic, lovely thing. So that's how we connected. But yeah, we definitely want to know about you guys and your story and how Ology came to be as well.
Do you want to
So
start, Teresa?
sure. So we connected. We worked together at a high school in New York City,
Ooh.
and um, I am a science teacher, and Duleli is a ELA teacher. And during our many meetings and long days of teaching, um, very good, but sometimes it could be very draining and strenuous. So at the end of the day, we would get together and we talk about, what are you going to do this weekend? What are you doing this evening? The conversation always steered itself towards the wine. Okay. So we found out that we had a common love for champagne, rose, all things bubbly. We did not care for rosé because at that time people were like, "Oh, I love rosé. This is rosé is that, rosé is this," and this something that we just could not get our mind, wrap our minds around that. So we started off with discussing how much we love champagne. And then that went on to other varieties of wines. So we started drinking wines, talking about them all the time. And then we said, hey, we should be doing tastings or we should be educating folks about wines because, I mean, between the two of us, we have at least 45 years of teaching between the two of us.
Wow.
Okay. So we do know how to educate others, and we do know how we know all things education, and then we just kind of embarked on this journey to know all things wine, and that's how it started.
That's pretty much it. I mean, somehow, I mean, at the time we didn't know we were doing this, but when we would exchange what we had for wines over the weekend, we were literally, we didn't know it at the time because we were not, again, we weren't in the wine world at that time, but we were actually sharing notes. I mean, now we're like, oh my God, we were doing it. We didn't even know we were doing it, but we were. And, she would recommend a wine or a champagne, and I would recommend. I think that's how we kind of were like, we're pretty, we'd both be like, is it good? Like, we'll recommend stuff we both weren't usually used to drinking that the other person liked. And it was like, we were like, and then when we came back on Monday, it was like, oh my God, you are amazing. You know what you're talking about. So we were constantly doing that. And that's kind of where what Teresa just said, the conversation started like, we should do something with this because we are just giving each other recommendations that are mind blowing. And then we started putting words together and, we created a Instagram page, but we wanted to like create a word that represented what we felt wine was to us. Teresa's got the science side, and I have the literature side, and we were trying to put words together, and somehow crew and ology came together, and
Right,
just made perfect sense to the both of us.
right.
It just, it just sounded perfect. It was like, yeah, this is it. This is going to be the.
That's so fun. I just love that, like bringing both of the worlds together because I love to write and science. I like the idea of it, but it didn't really make sense to me until I did start studying wine. So I thought that was so cool. Each of your backgrounds and how you did come together. And now when I think of you all, I think of Crewology and I think of the creation that you have set off. And with that, like, tell us a little bit more about what Crewology Vines is. So I love the slogan, a wine state of mind. But what does that mean? What was the inspiration and what have you all started?
Well, like Teresa said, we wanted to educate and also make it so that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Teresa, we wanted wine to be approachable to people too, because there's a big stigma on how wines are, people are usually stuffy and very, hard to, it's not approachable, or you shouldn't have wine with certain foods because that's not a thing. And as we started getting into the industry little by little, we realized that, this is our platform to really kind of show that, we're not stuffy, we're not snotty, we're approachable, and we want people to learn, we want people to understand, we want people to really enjoy wine, and not be afraid to, or not to be afraid to explore too, because sometimes people get also stuck in there. We've noticed that too. Some people could get stuck on one type of wine And we feel like we can, as educators, we can show you the different aspects of what wine is. I mean, we know wine, but there's so much more to learn about wine, so we can't ever say that we know it all. But we know enough that you're constantly learning and you're constantly exploring. So we want our clients, our wine friends who are curious or not sure, to get that experience when we do tastings and things like that. And that's just one aspect. I mean, Teresa, you can have more.
Right. And I think that like Duleli said, that we're not gonna know every single thing about wine. Okay. Um, just like I tell my students, I know what I know, but
Yeah.
I don't know everything. Okay. And um every day is a gift where you get up and you learn something new every day. So there is no end all be all. Like I am like the wine king and queen and I know everything. That does not, okay? Because
Yeah.
once you dig deeper, it's just more, there's so many facets of the wine industry and learning about wine. Um, there's so much to learn. Even when you just sit around and in our lovely, fascinating group that we have, we sit around, we could discuss wine. We could be on that phone forever. I
Yeah.
mean, forever,
Yes.
okay? And just talk and talk and talk. But I don't. It's just there's just so much to learn. There's so
Yeah.
much to learn. Um, some people think, oh well, I've been drinking wine forever, and I know how to, I know how wines are made. Um, that's all good and dandy, but there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn, and as educators, we're lifelong learners, and that's how we are approaching um our take on the wine industry.
Yeah.
And
Um,
we feel comfortable as well. It's okay if you don't know everything. It's okay because there's times when I'm drinking wine, I don't know all the tasting notes. That's a learning process in itself as well. You know,
so yeah, so we kind of want, our clients or people that want to learn from us to understand that whole concept of, like, you have to walk in with an open mind. And that itself is a wine state of mind, right? I mean, we're constantly learning. I mean, we've even learned so much from being in Cindy's group too. I mean, all the different experiences we've had with wine, we've been able to take away something and say, "Wow, I didn't know that," or "Wow, I never tried this varietal." And an opportunity like in Cindy's group, we've been able to say, "Oh, this is a new varietal. I've never had it. This is fabulous, and I'm gonna, use it for a tasting and say, look." And so we've been able to kind of you know, have that open mind. So we want everyone that learns from us to have that as well, or to remind them to have one. We also love writing as well, so we blog. We also love merchandise, and we love fashion as well. So we kind of have a little bit of all those things in our brand. But we also currently we do a lot of tastings. That's what we've been doing the most of, and
yeah,
trying to that approach that Teresa just described, just having that open mind. That we're learning. We're still learning. We're going to forever be
yeah,
learning. That's
yes,
why wine is so exciting. I mean, still going to keep learning, whether it's in our little intimate tasting groups or in a class or whatever it is. But it's an ongoing thing. And if you love wine, that's all the fun you need.
Right.
right. It's a lifelong learning. And both have our WSET level 2 at the moment. Um, we will be slowly approaching the level 3 level as well. But
Great.
well, they kind of put they turn their noses down to the exams because they're like, oh, well, I know this and I have all this
Right,
experience. Why do I need to take a test?
right.
Always good to be, I guess, because that's the geeks in us. We like to geek out and we like to study
Hmm.
Right.
tests. So that's what we do, and that's what we do best. You know,
Yeah.
and we learn so much from that as well.
Yeah.
We learn
Agree.
so much from that as well.
Hmm. We did. We learned a lot, and we just and it also gave us an opportunity to explore new varietals too, or regions. I think that was my favorite part about taking the W set. The terminology was, they have their own style of wanting you to learn from that, but I love that we were able to explore regions, and I think that was the approach that we took after we passed the exam. Like, okay, so I know now that if I want a Shiraz from Australia, I know what region is going to rock my world, no matter what, unless I should be shocked if I'm disappointed, right? According to WSET rules. So, I mean, I think that's the cool thing about just geeking out too, that you just, you take what you want from the experience, but you also say, okay, now that I learned this, I'm gonna see if it's true. How good is, this type of wine or this region. So, you know, overall, we're having a good time. I think that's another thing that makes it, so much fun too. We're enjoying ourselves.
Good. Should be. That's wine should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
I definitely share your philosophy, and I think that's a thing that we all bonded about, was just wine being so much more approachable and just discovering new things and not having it be this bougie, unapproachable
Right.
thing. I think there's a lot of stuff in the wine world, to your point, that still exists, that you can't do this or you can't do that. First of all, these rules are so old. And I don't know who made these rules, but it's I don't want that to be a thing that makes people stay away because they think it's not,
Mm-hmm.
approachable. So I, like you, I just want it to be fun and approachable and fun, and teach people varietals that they may not know, and they might not have been sure to try or afraid to try because they're not familiar with it. I'd like to tell you about it, and maybe you take a chance and you try it.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's great. I know that events have been a lot of the focus for you guys so far. Is that still the thing that you enjoy most doing still?
Um.
I think we do. We do. I'm not gonna say I think. I know we do. We
Do.
Yeah.
very much so enjoy the wine tastings that we do. We also have our chance to share our our own take on the pairings with the wine as well. So
Yeah.
what we do is we pair the wines. We'll have a charcuterie board, and we'll have just the things that that you'll find at a wine tasting, but then we also put our own spin on it, where we use the food that we normally eat in our own household. And
Mm-hmm.
that's typically not what you will find in the traditional wine tasting
Yeah.
um, event. So we will have fried chicken. Fried chicken goes fantastic with any bubbly
Oh yes. Have
choice.
Yeah.
have
The
it.
fats and the acid and the bubbles, it just is a nice marriage made in heaven. And then Duleli with her fantastic, she hand makes her empanadas.
Mm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
To die for, right? It's so delicious, and we pair all these things. And these foods are not commonly traditional foods that you would pair wine with.
Right.
So we definitely bring our own spin and our own culture into the tasting portions, and
Yeah.
others as well, because um throughout time, this was not heard of.
Right.
Mhm.
I love that because that's so true. It's like, even for me and my family, like I studied wine, I tasted lots of wine, but it wasn't until I would bring, a certain bottle that wasn't our normal go-to for dinner. And I was like, wait, but try this with this. And like just introducing different food flavors with different wine flavors, it not only opened up my family's opinion, like, okay, maybe we will drink more white wines with dinner. Maybe we will try this or start with a rosé moving into a heavier red. But it also helped like my mom learn to eat more food. Like she's a very picky eater until I showed them how they pair so well together. So I love that. Give us examples of some of your what has been one of the favorite events you all have hosted over the years since you've started doing this for your clients.
I don't know. I feel like we've done it. The last couple that we've done have been fun, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
The one that
like
at Cork was phenomenal. It was the space itself was phenomenal. Um, we had like little separate rooms, but we were all convening together, which looked like a little um, cozy little setup. Beautiful backdrop display of just it's so eclectic and beautiful. So it kind of went well with what we were serving with our wines and our food pairings as well, because it was kind of like out of the norm, but it all kind of married together perfectly. And everybody felt so relaxed. So the one thing we like is we like our guests to feel so relaxed and comfortable that they can talk about what they're smelling, what they're tasting, and they can share their responses. Because sometimes if you're in a tasting and you feel uncomfortable from the start as soon as you walk in, because people can read the room, people read people's energy, and we set it up where with our energy everybody belongs here. Everybody deserves to have a space at this table, drinking whatever wine they like and pairing it with whatever food they like. There are no rules with us.
Yeah,
I
and
love
just
that.
that our palates are all individual, and it's okay if you taste lemon and we don't. We taste I don't know, oranges. That's okay. We try to make it so that everyone can vocalize what they're tasting, so they're comfortable, like Teresa said. So it's not like, okay, this you're in this box and this is what the wine is supposed to taste like for you. We kind of like dismantle everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. That's what a lot of it is, because people always have their
Yeah.
stuff that they come with, and things they believe, and you kind of have to kind of dismantle that. Say it's okay. It's a safe space. So yeah. Well, I love that.
Everybody to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just have fun with
Yeah.
Just have fun. And I love what you're doing with the food, because again, I think there's this whole thing about the food and wine. You have to have, steak with red, and you have to have white with fish, and all those, again, the rules that are so old, and people are like, well, I shouldn't, I shouldn't do that then. I guess that's wrong.
Right.
Have what you like with your food, like whatever it is. I love empanadas, and I would pair it with whatever. So yeah.
I agree. I think that the rule should be, if it tastes amazing on your palate,
Yeah.
sip it and eat it. That's it.
And eat it.
right,
And just enjoy it.
right.
Um,
Whatever food that is there, you will
mhm.
always be able to find a wine to pair it with. There's so many different varietals.
Mhm.
There's so many varietals I haven't even heard.
Right.
One
Oh, I
of them, I'm
know.
like, oh, I never heard of that one before. Let me
Yeah.
Same.
try this. But there's so many. There,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes from the earth. The
Yeah,
food from the earth, the wine comes from the earth. It is so organic. There is always going to be something to pair something with, and it doesn't have to be the traditional foods.
I love that. Well, yeah, we'll have to join one of your upcoming tastings. And I think
Yeah.
kind of other than that, I know sometimes you talk about expanding some of the merchandise or going into some different directions. What does the future of Crewology look like? Like, do you guys have any upcoming big fun projects that our listeners should be, aware of and waiting for?
Well, we love food and we love wine, so we're working on our cookbook. So
Ooh.
I don't want to say it too much, but just a little hint of that, and just we're gonna just like dive deeper into learning more too. W said threes in our future as well, and
Mhm.
I don't know. We've even envisioned ourselves as just educating huge platforms. We see ourselves really speaking out towards, just dismantling that whole idea that wine is not approachable, or this is the rule for wine. These are the rules. Follow this. You know. So,
Right. Like wine by nature is I should say it's like part of diversity.
yes.
So it should reflect that in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
Mhm.
Agreed. So we're
why
gonna pick it up a little bit.
right. So there's no reason why it should just be sequestered to like just a certain groups. It is here for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, and I think that was something too. You all had a cool story about how you were interested in wine. You started going to tasting and events, and you started Crewology Vines and the blog and everything. But I don't know if you wanted to go into a little bit. I thought that your kind of inspiration or kind of that first ignite to launch the business as a business, you all kind of had a fun story about where the adventure truly took off. I don't know if you'd like to share that.
The pandemic, I think. I mean, I know this sounds ironic, and Teresa, let me know if I'm wrong or remind me, because I tend to forget some details sometimes. But I think the pandemic, we were nervous about the pandemic when it happened. We were like, oh no, we just had kind of like launched Prology right before. And we were like, oh no, what are we going to do now? And ironically, the pandemic was a blessing in disguise because we met you all. That's Exhibit A, of course, and other people from all over the world. And we've been able to just go to tastings virtually in places that we probably would have not been able to if the pandemic wasn't around.
Right. We were all over the United States. We were in Italy via the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Other places that was so easily accessible by Zoom.
Right. Yeah. So we met a lot of cool people, and
Yes, we did. Made a lot of great connections.
so I think I want to say that's when we kind of like ironically really launched during the pandemic. Like we didn't know it at the time before the pandemic, but we were setting up the tone for all of this, and it was fabulous.
I
Right.
love that. Breaking
We
down stigmas, breaking down barriers. You might have been, we might have all been at home for a few months, but you all didn't let that slow you down. I think that's great.
right. We even did a tasting virtual, which we've
Yes.
done, and the folks on the other end, they have never done a virtual tasting as well, but they had a blast.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah. We did. And we even had our first, like, we had an in person one too, right towards I mean, the pandemic was still on and strong, but not, it was during that summer, and we were able to do that. We were a little nervous too because we were like, oh, but it went at the end, everyone was laughing and telling us that they loved this, and they didn't know this, they didn't know that. They're so excited about what to try next. They got to do this again. Like, we always had that beautiful feedback, genuine feedback from the attendees. It's been really fun. But I want to say 2020 was our little blessing for wine blessings from above.
and also I'd like to add, being that we were able to be a part of so many different communities really helps.
Yeah.
Um, it's difficult to do things, especially things like this in isolation. And during the pandemic, a lot of people felt isolated. But I
Yeah.
think the opposite for us. It opened up a whole new world for us. And even before the pandemic, I want to touch on that word community again. When we met Sunshine
Yeah.
Foss, who
Yeah.
Black woman who owns Happy Cork Brooklyn, which is like a wine boutique. It started off really small, and now it's like everybody knows Happy Cork all over the country. Everybody knows Happy.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
We just happened to go to a wine tasting in the West Village, I believe.
Yeah.
One.
Mm-hmm.
This was right before COVID.
Right. Right before.
And we walked into this place. We walked into this tasting. There was maybe 4 people of diversity, including us two. So that leaves you 2 more,
Wow.
and mostly men. And we met a wine maker, a woman family-run winemaker. Uh, they are Suru Wines out in Cutchogue, out in the North Fork of Long
Yeah.
Island. And they are fantastic. Their wines are fantastic, and they are just fantastic people. It was
Yeah.
our community as well. And I want to go back to Sunshine Foss. We bumped into her, and she was like, "Hey, who are you? Tell me about
Yeah.
what they like." And she's like, "Here, this is my store. Come to my store. We'll talk." And she's been like our mentor this whole time.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
has a good heart. She's so full of, "I do this for the community."
Yeah. She is definitely.
She just pulls you in, and that is it.
Oh.
Yeah. So she's been very pivotal in our community. Super pivotal. Like, I don't even think when we met Suru and even Sunshine that we would be like, we were just mingling. We thought oh, this is great, and it just blew up in such a beautiful way. And we've even used her space. I mean, I know that Soon we are trying to see if we could do another tasting at her space. She's even asked for us to let her know dates. We're very excited to be collaborating with her again. But we've just met a lot of incredible people.
And even Viazza Wine, we met
Yeah,
Viazza through her.
yes,
They're
yeah,
fantastic. Their
yeah,
blog of Italian wines are out of this world.
yeah.
Ooh.
They are very sweet and very welcoming.
Yeah, and the price points are amazing and welcoming too. Great on the pockets. I mean, but they're so great, such great wines too. It's like, what? This is only $15. This tastes like $1,000,000. It's amazing. So they've also been very pivotal too with our, they've invited us to different tastings throughout the city as well. Oh, you guys should come. We would love you there. So welcoming. I mean, and I'm sure even people that we've met in other overseas, I'm sure they would do the same if, we had that easy access. But a lot of the people we've met that were from New York or in the tri-state area have been super, super welcoming. And that includes you both, Andy.
Yes.
I love it. We always say wine brings people together, and this is just like a true proof of how much it does. Like whether it's within your own local community, your online community, or just, just sharing a commonality behind the love of wine. I think that's so great.
Well, this is so great, you guys, and I'm so looking forward to what's next on the horizon for you. And can't wait to see. I'm very looking forward to the cookbook, of course, selfishly, and any other stuff that you get involved with. Just let me know, and I'll be happy to talk about it. And we'd love to have you on again. And
Yeah, wonderful. We love you. I'm so excited about the podcast.
Thank you.
That'd be great.
Please tell our audience how they can get in touch with you guys if they want to book an event or just go on your site or.
Yes, so we are at our Instagram is at Crewology Vines. Our Facebook is also at Crewology Vines, and our website is www.crewologyvines.com. And you can subscribe there and become members, and they could also shop for some of our merch, our T-shirts. I actually have I know my light is a little dim, but I have my T-shirt on today.
Oh, nice.
So we have that's our traditional shirt, but we also have other stuff in there, wine slogans and things like that. If anyone ever wants to shop, they can do that on our website and also just read our blog and multi-purposeful.
All right. Well, ladies, as always, it is a pleasure. Thank you so, so much to you both for coming on and making our first episode wonderful. And I appreciate both of you. So cheers.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
I like the sound effect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. And I'll be seeing you both soon.
Yes.
Very soon.
For sure. For sure.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.